What's up?
What's up, brother? How are you?
I'm well. How are you doing? I'm cool. Just recovering from this I don't know, cold something I had. I don't know what it was, but I took a blow. But I'm back.
Well, we all have to do that every now and then.
Yeah, definitely. So how you been? Let the family know what you've been up to and how's everything going. Any updates? What's going on with Dr. Phil?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, a lot of changes, good changes. The university is going through a shift in its own consciousness. We have been, compelled to move from the operating headquarters that we had for so long, and we are now in the throes of getting ready to go to another level, a higher level. It's been a wonderful, though very traumatizing, if I want to use that word, traumatizing, but more of that kind of painful adjustments. But we are definitely on a good track to making the university a global thing now, because a lot of the help that we've been looking for from people who have been monitoring what we have been doing, and I don't know if you ever check the old movies where a guy's been doing something for a long time and all of a sudden he gets a phone call or he gets approached and someone says to him, "We have been looking at you or monitoring you for a long time. We believe that you are A, B, C, and D, and that you have been serving the people for so long," and blah, blah, blah. And I can't get as deeply as I want to because it's not that time yet. But we were approached by some very powerful people, and they know that I do not do any kind of, what word am I looking for? I don't sell out. I don't compromise in the work that I do. And they said that was part of what it is that gave them or made them approach me. And they told me that based on the circumstances that they could help me. And all I can say is that they have helped me so far beyond anything that I could have, I and my queen could have ever dreamed of. That we are very grateful to the universe and to those who have been there on our side, pushing forward for us, so that we could then in turn do more for the people. Because as you know, brother, we're kind of a mom and pop organization. And Dr. Nalani and I handle 5 and 6 other jobs that should be allocated and delegated to people so that we could be freed up to do more to expound on the university. As a result of these brothers stepping in, we have been now, over the next 6 months, been allowed to be able to do so. And I just want to give thanks to the brothers and sisters who are out there who are going up to the website, because we do need that help still. We're still in the transitional phase, going up to, as you said, uksnow.org. That's uksnow.org. And right there on the page, on the home page, you'll see a button that says, Give Your Gift. That puts you right into the PayPal. If you want to give $10, $5, $20, some brothers put in $100, sisters put in, $50. They put in what they can because they know that the work we do is no joke. We have elders in our care. We have young children in our care. We have new mothers in our care. We have pregnant women in our care. We have cancer patients in our care. So the adjustment and the shift has not only affected Dr. Nalani and myself, but it's affected those that we have had responsibilities for. And so all of what you do when you go to that website to give generously and to gift generously to us is actually going right back out into the community. We don't hold anything because we can't afford to hold anything. We put everything back into our work. So those of you who did, and of course a lot of you who did in the expectations of receiving a webinar, let me just say this, we have not forgotten that. What has happened is that the technology that we had when we made that webinar was not uh, at the superior level to be able to deal with the amount of information that was on that webinar. The webinar had PowerPoint presentations as well as the audio and as well as a lot of animation. And so the file was so huge that it took over an hour to try to download. And when it was when the people tried to play it on their computers, the computers didn't even have the power to drive it so that it could be done. So we thought about making it a link so that we could stream it. And even that didn't work because the streaming itself, we don't have the sophistication to know how to set up the stream. And we didn't even have the money to even put up to set up the stream. And we found out that the stream is even limited because only a few people can watch the webinar at a time. It's not like YouTube, where anybody could click into the specific lecture and then watch it from there. No, streaming this particular program, only 4 or 5 people could watch it at that time. So with all the thousands of people who look at our program, who are our students, de facto students, who look at our material, that was not going to work. So it isn't that we forgot you. It's that we are trying to make a more efficient connection to technologies that would serve the people better, and it's going to take us a little while. But we will, because we have all the names of the people who participated in that webinar, and we will fulfill that. We have always kept our word, and this is not going to be any different. So with that, brother, I'm open and at the service of the community, and just want to say that on a personal note that you've been an exemplary student and that you do good work. You're one of the brothers and sisters who are excelling at what it is that the University of Communication Sciences stands for. If you go into the Communication Sciences website, you'll see a phrase that is indicative of what our university stands for. It states, the mission is mastery. That is on what this is the basic tenet, the saying of our school. So those of you who will be in the future students, because we will be getting bomber jackets, we'll be getting windbreakers, we'll be getting T-shirts, hats, all kinds of paraphernalia, glasses, cups, mugs. All of these will have the university's logos and so forth. All that is in the making. And we are intending to break ground sometime in the near future, maybe within the year, or maybe a year or two. But we will be breaking ground, and we want to create Luxor East. That's how deep we want to take the university or the Institute for the Advancement of Communication Sciences. We may go from the University of Communication Sciences to a whole new name, the Institute for the Advancement of Communication Sciences, and you're hearing that first on this blog talk. No place else have I or the Queen have mentioned this. So, yes, we have a lot to accomplish, and we want to definitely send kudos to you, Brother Jay, for the kind of work that you're showing that what it is that the University of Communication Sciences is about, the mission being mastery, and you are on that road we call the path of the hidden light.
I definitely appreciate it, and that's why I signed up, So it's something that, it's an honor to even, study under you, and, definitely, I have to trying to keep the torch lit, keep that fire going. So definitely, and thank you for letting the people know about the transition and what's going on and about the webinar and all of that, because I do know that there were some complications with that, as you were stating a few weeks ago when you were first putting it up. Now, I know tonight's subject, I know you, for those people who do not know, Dr. Valentine is the author of The Wounded Womb. And you've probably seen some of those lectures on YouTube or little snippets of it. He is definitely gonna go in tonight. I already know, because this is one of his fortes. Speaking on the anatomy or the metaphysics of the female body, and I definitely recommend for brothers and particularly sisters, but brothers as well, just as equally, to get this book, because it will give you such a phenomenal intrinsic insight into into what a woman is, and as well as how women should be treated, what women should be, how they should be looked at. Or it just made me really look at things differently after I read that book, and I commend you on the work. I'm definitely looking forward to the work that you're putting out in the near future. Now, with that being said, I noticed you in the book, you bring a lot about how the behaviorisms that are practiced today by the modern female, and how it basically causes degeneration of the female body. One of those things being wearing pants, something as simple as wearing pants. Can you go into the whole science of the pants and the lungs and all of that?
Mm-hmm. First, let me just say that those of you who have not heard me or have just seen snippets of the Wounded Womb that I did back in 1994, 95, or when I began starting the Wounded Womb was actually back in 1984. And we were, let me just give you a little history about it so we can get right into the thing about the pants. Back in that day, I was married to a woman named Queen of Fua. And together we put together something called the Sacred Woman. And a lot of people don't know that I am the co-author of the Sacred Woman program at the time when Queen of Fua and I were married. But the book, The Wounded Womb, came out as a small booklet that I had created during the time that we were giving what were called the purification fasts and those things that we're dealing with, therapeutic cleansing programs. And we were dealing with specific issues around women's wombs, especially fibroid tumors and cysts. And as they came to see us and we would interview these women, there was a specific reference to a particular behavior or specific things that we found that they were doing that each one of these women essentially did or were exposed to. And it became a common thing for us to predict, essentially, when a woman said, this is my problem, well, we would say, well, are you doing A, B, C, D, and E? And out of each one of those, sure enough, we would at least hit on one of them that she was doing, and it would bring about these. So I began to put together a small folio, a little booklet of about maybe 25 pages of the do's and don'ts while you're on the program healing. Well, that Wounded Womb concept from the Sacred Woman, and actually it was called the Goddess Principle, and at the beginning, it began to kind of embellish itself. The more I interviewed our sisters, the more information I got. So I began going back to the old heads, my old heads back in the days, my great-granddaughters and my uncles and who had the wives. And actually I went and did an interview on all the elder women about what was going on first and what were the things that women who did back then, and what are they doing now, and what are they not doing now. So I began compiling all this information, and the Wounded Womb essentially became over 1,000 pages, more than that actually, because I took out at least 300 pages from the Wounded Womb, and it's about 700 pages now. So it began to dovetail. Yeah, it began to dovetail. And the first time I put it out was back in about 1992 or 3, and it was about 200, 300 pages at that time. And some people still have that spiral-bound copy of the Wounded Womb. But after that, I began putting out more and more of the information, and sure enough, it took me a while because I was writing other books at the same time. So I said, well, the sisters need this information. And then bang, boom, I put it together so that by 2006 through 2008, when it finally got out there, I put it out as a hardcover. Now, I said all that to let people know that I'm not just saying things off the top of my head, that this is research that goes back 20 years, 30 years. This is something that I've been doing. It isn't because I'm a man that I know more about a woman and women's arguments saying, well, how come you think you know more about my body and I got the plumbing? How do you know how the plumbing works better than I do? Because I'm the one with the plumbing. Well, because I have studied and I have analyzed and I have listened and I have actualized and I have reversed the conditions of sisters with fibroid tumors, with cervical cancers, with ectopic pregnancy, with some infertility. All of these we have reversed, well, helped them to reverse, because we teach you how to heal yourself. We don't do any healing. And so I'm not speaking from something off the top of my head. I'm not ego tripping because I think I know women better than women do. That has nothing to do with it, family. It has to do with research, common sense, logic, and reason, all the things that come into it, and a very deep and heavy acumen within the metaphysical field to understand all of what is happening behind the scenes of a specific disease, behind the scenes of a specific thing that is affecting someone, understand the thought processes and all the invisible acts and actions that go into what's going wrong. So one of the things I found out was that when you constrict a woman, the fact that a woman is centrifugal, I believe, instead of centripetal. Is she centripetal or centrifugal? Well, the vaginal opening is there for a reason. It breathes, and most people don't know that the vaginal opening actually is a breathing mechanism. It's a psychic breathing mechanism. And that the reason why the skirt is so necessary is to make sure that the airflow is there. When you put on pants, what I call in the book crotch cutters, these crotch cutters cut off the flow of air and oxygen as well as blood, because when you constrict the mons veneris and the labia and you force it against these jeans or anything tight, doesn't have to be any of these crotch cutter jeans or any, it could be a tight set of pantyhose or some of these nylon panties, thongs and things. What you're doing essentially is growing bacteria, number one, and you're forcing the blood flow that is supposed to be flowing easily through that area. You are constricting the blood vessels at that area, which is causing a lack of the body's ability to get rid of waste. This then predicates what is now happening to women in the form of all of these yeast infections, all kinds of troubles that end up. Not only that, again, because there's so much around this, I'm trying to touch different points. The constriction of that area and the stop of the blood flow as well as the airflow down there also has an effect on a woman's thinking. Most people don't know that once you start constricting the area of the vaginal region, especially women, you could see sometimes the pants are so tight that it's actually splitting the lips of the vagina so that the seams of the jeans are actually in between the labia. Now, women who have become accustomed to that kind of direct stimulation become less and less have less and less contact with the natural instincts that should be there to tell them what is right and wrong. The more you abuse something, the more you stimulate something, the more you take away its nerve energy that would give you indications that something is going wrong. You can numb a region by overusing that region to the point where there's no more response in that region. So women who wear these kinds of clothes end up psychologically and behaviorally taking on andric proclivities. And they don't see the subtle changes happening. It happens. And sometimes it happens from inside out when certain chemistries in their body begin to change. And sometimes it happens in their temperament when their mood swings and so forth. Most of the time, women do not have a clear understanding of how their body is supposed to work. They know how it works under certain conditions, under certain stress-related conditions, especially getting up to do work, having to deal with your man, having to deal with getting money, getting a job, getting an education, being this, all of that type of stress that you are exposing yourself to creates the conditions in the body that causes you to have to be less feminine and more aggressive and thus change the temperament as well as the chemistry in your body to match that behaviorism. So I said all of that to let you know that once you begin to constrict the female body, just because, fashion dictates that you're supposed to have your cute little mini dress and your crotch cutters supposed to go out to party and all of that is what they are doing in order to keep you on a high stimulative level. Once you have stimulated yourself beyond the ability to know when your body is going to break down, or you lose that sensitivity to be able to know when you're about to ovulate, know when you're about to even know when you're pregnant. Because there's some women who are so sensitive in their bodies that they already know the very moment when that sperm hits that egg. That's how sensitive they are. These are the old school sisters who are not into all this new age craziness that they're doing today. So sisters today have lost their natural feminine instincts for what is right and wrong in the behaviorisms necessary to maintain their feminine nature. I'm talking about their higher feminine nature, because there's different feminine natures. There's lower feminine nature and higher feminine nature. Well, today, the lower feminine nature presides. The lower feminine nature and all of the pains and sufferings and diseases that come with that type of behaviorism. That's why women's disease is a $1 billion business. The hysterectomies, the cervical cancer, this and the breast cancer, that, everything. In fact, at least a third or more of the entire medical industry is based around women. So women represent a commodity in the eyes of the medical church, and they will do everything they can to make sure that women do not know how to behave, or do not teach women, especially as young girls, how they need to behave in order to circumvent having to go to doctors when they get to a certain age. So yes, going back to the pants issue, as simple as the pants issue, it's not as simple as the pants issue. The pants issue is just the beginning, but it's something that sisters are doing unconsciously right now because they have rendered their body unconscious based upon the clothes they wear, the food they eat, the type of thoughts they are allowed to think and continue to think, and the behaviorism, this yanging up and buoying up and doing things that guys do, this so-called freedom that they think they have, they pay for it. Trust me. And how do I know? Because 85% of my clientele are women. And all of them suffer eventually from specific diseases that I tell them later on, and they admit to, this is what they've been behaving like, this is what they've been eating, this is what they've been doing, these are the stresses they've been under, and here's what it is that has resulted. So yes, I know what I'm talking about because the sisters who have been through that have come to me and told me. So I know exactly what that is. I'm still learning, but I know to this point, right now, in my 60th year of life, that I have an understanding of what it is that my beloved sisters are suffering through.
Great, beautiful, beautiful. Because I know in the book you was talking about how the lung capacity of a female is much more smaller than compared to a male's, and how that comes into play with the generation of the heat in the body, and why.
Yes.
And how the gravitational pull of women is centered more towards the earth, putting them more in tune with the weather patterns and the changes of the earth. I think that's something that the sisters definitely need to hear something about as well. So if you don't mind, could you elucidate on that too?
By all means. The woman's cellular density and how the cells in her body coagulate or come together, she is oriented more by the makeup and the flow of her body energy to the earth. In other words, the gravitational pull on her by the earth is much stronger than it is on the male. Therefore, she has a sensitivity, and I'm not talking about just any woman. I'm talking about a woman who is into her own, and I use this word frequently throughout the book, gynic, Gynic. Now, you know what the word gynecology comes from. When you read with the word GYN, you're speaking about the feminine, female. You're dealing with as far as the womb. Anything having to do with the womb has GYN beginning it. So when I say gynec, which I took that word from a woman, I borrowed it from a woman named Lana Cantrell. She and I, we befriended one another by phone when she wrote a book called, it's called, excuse me, hold on for a second. Yes, no, I'll be right there. She wrote a book called good goodness, it slipped right out of my head. Lana Cantrell.
The Greatest Story Never Told.
Greatest Story Never Told. Thank you. She wrote a book called The Greatest Story Never Told, and I had a chance to get in contact with her, and we spoke a few times by phone, and she told me that the story about our sisters, especially in the Black and Native American communities, that has to be told by not only women, but by men as well. And she said that the wounded womb is something very important. It's a very important work because it's something that has to be taken from another perspective. Women have to see themselves from another perspective. This is a woman saying this. She says women have been seeing themselves based upon the feminist view on perspective of a woman. And she said these feminists have distorted the view. And a man's view of a woman is based upon what he learns a woman is from his mother and from the elders that are around him. And the science of being a woman is what it is that I learned from the elders, but the metaphysics of a woman is what I had to study based upon understanding the principles of yin and yang and how energy works as magnetic and electric currents. All of these things go into that. So when I began to study the female anatomy and began to find out that her skin is less dense, therefore it has a more empathic connection to the gravitational waves of the planet, and therefore the shifts in weather pattern. She has less blood per square millimeter, less blood cells per square millimeter. So then she has to feel her grounding more to the earth in order to actually survive. She is more to the earth than she is to the sky. Men are, their aspirations are in space, are outside of the gravity of earth. So they don't have the same kind of empathic connection to the earth unless, of course, they go into their own yin energy and participate in that from that perspective. They learn it, of course, from their mothers and elder women. But again, that part of the woman is now in stasis, especially in these generations. It is very, very difficult to find a truly gynec female woman. I'm talking about one that does not want to deal with the stresses of playing basketball or want to go tackle somebody for football or does not feel she's equal to a man who does not have that sense. She's suffering just as much as anybody else out there because there is no support system for the true female out there anymore. She has to adapt to being a masculine woman because the feminists who are ruling now are masculine. So they do not, in fact, they hate gynec women because they consider gynec women weak. They think that gynec women who are not into up in the face with the neck rolling and talking all kind of yang, like they're talking like sailors who just came over on leave, F you this and F you that. The gynec women don't want to feel that because that disturbs them. It's very disturbing to them. They are not confrontationists. They have a wisdom about themselves that can only come from the womb. And women today, because they are not into their womb, do not have true womb wisdom. They have womb intellect, which is different. Womb intellect is what it is you can now coin based upon your scholastic interface with what it is women are, based on what feminists tell you, based on what it is that you could gather from what it is that New Age, pundits have told you what a woman is. But the true womb wisdom comes from true women, not females who pretend to be women. And that's very difficult to find. Those kind of women are, and I tell you brothers out there, those kind of women are treasures. You could never find anything greater. I'm talking about national treasure. When my boy walked into there, that is nothing compared to having a true gynic woman or gynic woman as your wife, as your companion. Those are the treasures that we protect. Those are the ones that we die for. Today, you know of anybody that wants to die for a woman today? Why? Because she could pick up an M16 and pretend to protect, that she could take care of herself. No man wants a woman who's independent, no real man. Because essentially, by nature, a true woman is dependent. That's why she makes all kinds of communal contacts with other women. They depend upon one another. They're very communal. They interact. They interface. They're the ones who build the community from inside out. But if you got an independent woman, a man's own instinct is to want to take care of a woman. If you got a woman taking care of herself, you've completely tripped up my instincts, and I don't want to take care of you. I don't even feel an empathic connection to you. I don't want to die for you because you over there saying I'm independent. And women who fall for that, I'm independent, later on in life come back to me telling me, I've never been independent after all. There's no such thing as an independent woman. There's a facade that the society has created around making women believe they're independent because they have all these women's programs to keep women distracted by jobs and careers and all these things to do. But when a woman wants to find fulfillment, she finds fulfillment in things that women do, the things that women are. The tubing, the plumbing, the womb itself seeks that type of inner satisfaction and completion, and she's not allowed that today. So she's just a functionary. She's become another hand in the workplace for those who, back in the 60s, put this thing out there called feminism and tricked our black sisters into believing that nonsense. After Oprah, who you think going to take Oprah's place? Oprah is a fixture that was created back in the 60s when nobody was allowed into the Chicago area because they were burning everything down. She was a weather station, a person doing weather. It said, listen, take a camera, you black, go in there and talk to them people because they ain't letting no white people in there. And that's how Oprah started. And then all the feminists said, whoa, wait a minute, we got inroads now because the black community actually trusts her. So they poured money behind this woman. So she is a creation. She's a fixture creation. And whatever it is you think that she's built of this mega empire, that wasn't her building it. People wake up and grow up. She had all these white lesbian feminists that had vested interests, corporate money from Rockefeller, and those who were promoting that particular institution called feminism. They were the ones that built the Oprah that you see today. So what I'm saying to you is there is no independent woman because all of that is going to have to change. All of what you see as independence in anybody is going to have to change if we're going to come together as a family. If we're going to get together, because the secret is you create an independent woman, then you destroy the family. You create conditions where the man can no longer provide and protect by shipping all the jobs that he would need to be a provider and a protector offshore so that you can make more money by spending less on labor and shipping all the manufacturing jobs that kept a man at the head of his household and the head of the family while putting all of these man-hating feminists with all their books on TV and Oprah and all the rest of these shows and having them spew their venom and their filth about men all over the thing. Of course, women are going to lose trust, and that's what that was about. From the 1960s to the 1990s, the whole idea was to cause women to lose trust in men. Once they lost the trust and they started to distrust men, then they opened the door now for them to destroy the family. And that's exactly what they did. 67%, over half of the black households today are female-led. You think that's an accident? No. This was all shaped. And back in the days, in the late 80s, early 90s, when I was telling everybody that this was a plan to destroy the family and the community, all of the feminists, black ones especially, because that's an oxymoron in itself, a black feminist, all of them began to come out and tell them that I'm a man-hater, chauvinist, and all that. Yes, I told them exactly that. I am a sexist. What is a sexist? A sexist is a heterosexual man or a heterosexual woman. So, yes, I am sexist because I believe that the sexes have a purpose, and that purpose has been washed over. It's been destroyed. And now here we are as a so-called black society trying to find out where we're going to put the pieces together. Well, the first place you put the pieces together is in the family, structuring a family which structures a proper community. All this other crap that they're going to offer you, all this other stuff of, get this particular job or come and read this tape and learn how to do this, that's a lot of bullshit. First things first, what is a man and a woman? What is a husband and wife? Once you find that out and learn what a man is supposed to be and what a woman is supposed to be, that's what they don't want you to get back to. When you learn that, then the black community rises.
So we have a caller from the 856. Caller from the 856-423. You're on the line.
Hi.
Hello? How you doing, Queen? How you doing?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you. We hear you.
Okay, just making sure. How you doing, Brother Valentine? You too, Brother Jay.
I'm well.
I'm well.
Okay, I have a question. It's regarding, I guess, a decision I made years ago, and it was based on my elders at the time. And I know it's affecting a lot of us women right now, making the decision to have the tubal ligation, which I found does a lot of damage.
Mm-hmm. It blocks your flow. What the tubal ligation does, it completely shuts down the esoteric flow of your feminine energy from the cosmos.
Exactly. And the thing is realizing all of the damage, caused from being ignorant at that time and listening to the elders at that time and thinking that you're doing the right thing and taking that advice. And then, you end up going through so many different phases of dis-ease. And, I mean, I've been there. I've been through it all, and it's a cycle. And the thing is, I understand. I understand exactly what has happened to me and exactly what is going on now with me. But it's like, how do I reverse it all? Because it's almost like, okay, so somebody went inside of me and I allowed them to cause these changes, but I don't want somebody to go back inside to try to reverse it.
You can reverse that. The way you reverse it, you can reverse a tubal ligation. There is a way to do it. However, the very fact that your psyche knows what's going on, always know that matter follows mind. That is a metaphysical truism. All matter follows mind. And your mind, beloved sister, is what it is that right now, since it has come into this change, into the knowledge right now of what has really happened to you, this is a great time for you. This is a great experience for you at this point, because whatever karma you chose to participate in, this is something now you get to choose otherwise. Here's a point where you can now choose the path that you're going to take.
Right.
Okay? So, do you have children, sister?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Then from that point
the
right
problem
now...
is with my body right now. It's like I know... all of the damage that has been done. And the other thing is that I'm, very active in trying to inform, all females around me, and especially the young, everybody, into not making the same mistakes that I made and being young and ignorant and not having any idea of what it was going to do. So
yes, that I was just going to say to you that you have a great golden opportunity to become a point of reference for young sisters. And that in itself has its own sense of satisfaction, because there are ways for you to ameliorate any kind of physiological adjustments that your body's going through, physiological challenges. That's what we do, you see, here at the university and at the place we have called Whole Wellness Live. This is what we do to aid in brothers and sisters finding that path, that new choice. And we give them all the tools they need, of course, for a price, because it's not that we do things for free. We do it. I've done 176 tapes for free, if you might as well call it, because everybody around the world has my tape. I get no money from it. So I get that back in satisfaction, and the universe always feeds me. But I always have to make sure that there's an exchange, because in that exchange, whatever you put into, if you don't feel what it is that you're putting out that money or resources for, then it's nothing. It's not anything worth for you. You see, you don't dedicate yourself. You see, so yeah, you don't even have to come to me or to my queen, Dr. Nalani. You can find your path or bring somebody to you that you now need or get to be with on that path. So what I'm saying to you is this is an incredible opportunity for you to shift your attention from feeling like a victim, to shift your attention now to a teacher, to one who has learned and now is ready to teach.
Right. Okay. So
that part of the feminine challenge in this day and age is to get over the victim mentality, because that's the most crippling thing women going through right now. Okay? Right. Stop feeling victimized, because three-quarters of the victimization that you believe you're going through is based upon what has been programmed to you and consistently reinforced through movies, television, books, Oprah, and all the rest of these. This victimization is what gives them the fuel to be able to move the society into the crazy place it is today.
Right.
So when you no longer go for that and you shut that down and it's no longer part of your experience, now you are in charge of the dynamics for where your thoughts are going. No more victimization. You're only right now focused on your intentions. And those intentions are now to teach, to uplift yourself, and to forgive yourself for what you think that you've done. You know, oh, my God, I made a huge mistake. Oh, my ignorance has done this. No longer that has any kind of relevance in your arguments to yourself anymore. Those have no more relevance.
Okay.
I want you to get a book called The 4 Agreements.
What is that again?
The 4 Agreements.
Okay.
That's a book, and I want you to read that. My wife, she recommends that highly. In fact, she reads it to her family members every morning around 6 o'clock. She calls in to 5 or 6, maybe even 10 now it's gotten, and she reads a passage from the 4 Agreements.
Okay.
And it's by a man named Ruiz, R-U-I-Z. I don't know if you've ever heard of a person called Carlos Castaneda, and he was a student of a man named Don Juan. And Carlos Castaneda, this man here, Ruiz, is talking about the Toltec philosophy, and you should get that. It's a very small book, very tiny book, not a lot of pages, maybe 100 pages altogether. But in it, smoking dynamics.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Well, I
all right,
you
cool.
for that.
Is that all you have for Dr. Phil, Queen?
Well, basically, that is it. And it was just one more question as far as, I started off talking about the tubal ligation. So do you recommend or, would it be your suggestion that I do seek, trying to have that reversed, like step number 1?
How old are you, sister, if I may ask?
Well, I'm 39.
Okay.
It's not for the purpose of having more children. My children
I know
too much.
I know.
But I just want to reverse the effects.
You want to feel whole again. You want to feel
whole. Basically, yeah. So that's
I know exactly how you feel, sister. I know exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that's a choice that I would recommend, actually. Undo what you did if you have that opportunity. But what is your health state back with? How long ago did you do that?
96, actually. So.
Okay, so you're talking about nearly 20 years.
Like 15 years. My daughter will be 15
years. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So what is your health state like? What are you?
Well, see, I traced it all the way back to that because it was like that first, the tubal ligation, And then I started picking up weight, and I know that was due to the tubal ligation. Then I started suffering from acid reflux, and I was placed on the medication, and it just went downhill from there. From me being a healthy individual to high blood pressure to diabetes to everything, and then medication after medication after medication.
Well, sister, you are reading my book. You are reading my book off to everyone for me, because these are some of the things.
That's exactly what it leads to, and I'm telling you, like, I weaned myself off of so much. I even went through the gastric bypass surgery, and I mean, it's just so much to my story. It's not funny.
Sister, like I said, have you read my book?
Actually, I didn't. I haven't. So
okay.
That's another one I need to get. But I mean, like, I have this whole story, and I said I know I have so many people's story, and I just want to reverse this whole thing, and then that makes my story even greater to be able to share and let everybody know you don't have to. It's not the end. You can reverse it.
No, it's not. No, it's not. And if you wish to reverse it, like I said, it's perfect. If you wish to reverse it, then go right ahead. Make that choice. But make sure you make the choice because it's something you want to do and not something you think you have to do.
Right. No, it's definitely something I want to do because I feel incomplete. I feel like I need to be whole again. So.
Yeah. Well, then do something, whatever it is that you have in your mind to do it. And do it. Do not have any kind of compunctions, no judgments, nothing. If you feel this will make you whole, then by all means have it done. And make sure you have it done by someone who has the expertise and knows how to do it without it. But I would suggest that first and foremost, before you even think about that you seriously consider going through a purification program.
Okay.
Because you want your body to be able to heal quickly. And if you're going through what you've told me, and you said that your body is in a specific state as it is now, you're not going to have a very pleasant experience. Let's just say it like that. So what I would suggest is if you're open to it, you can call us. We'll give our number as to anybody out there, brother, 646. Well, I'll tell you what. Let me just give you this number. And you call this number in and you leave a message where I can contact you. Okay? Call this number, 386 456 9279. Again, 386 456 9279. Now, that's our message center. You call in and you leave a message, leave a number where I can contact you, and then we'll discuss, if you're open to it and you're willing, we'll put you on a program. We have different programs, 4 different levels, 4 different costs, and it depends on the length of time you wish to stay with us. So call us, leave a message, leave your name and a number, and we'll get back to you, okay?
Okay. All right. Thank you for that.
You're quite welcome.
All right, cool. Thanks, Queen. Thank you.
All right.
All right, we have another caller from the 904-710. You're on the line.
Peace. I am enjoying the show. Thank you very much. And
peace.
I just wanted to ask Brother Phil Valentine a question. I don't really hear too many people speak on the sisters that have had abortions. I had one probably back in the beginning of 2008. And my question was, I've recently started the raw food lifestyle. I've been eating raw foods for about a month now, getting about an hour of cardio in 6 to 7 days a week. And I've been taking a blood and lymphatic flush, or cleanse rather, and a liver and gallbladder cleanse from D-Herbs I got. And I was calling to find out what your thoughts were on what I can do basically, or could you kind of touch on how an abortion how it really affects the body, because me and my king would like to start a family soon within the next year. And I just wanted some information on that.
Well, the thing about abortions, in fact, I'm not sure, Brother Jay, have you read through my book, The Wounded Womb, and found what I had spoken about as far as abortions are concerned?
I was definitely going to even ask you about that, so you can bring that up.
Yeah,
I know. Yeah. I'm waiting for you to just go in on it. Go ahead.
Well, the abortions itself, depending on the amount of abortions that you take, makes
it was only one.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just kind of using because there's a lot. One woman I know had 9 of them.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
Yeah. So from 1 to 9, it doesn't matter because what happens is when you've had the first abortion, you've created a susceptibility to breast cancer.
Okay.
Okay. Now you can reverse that by following through and allowing a pregnancy or further or future pregnancies to go to term, which will then delay that process. But in taking the process, dealing with the abortion, what happens is, let me just put you through the cycle. The female body after conception, when conception occurs, immediately there is a signal sent. It's almost like an atomic bomb explodes. And I say this in my book. When the sperm gets to the center of the egg, loses its tail and gravitates to the center, that's the point where no electron microscope knows what happens. There's a complete blanking that is in the invisible realm. It is essentially a fusion nuclear reaction. It's almost like a nuclear explosion takes place right there in the egg. That's why certain sensitive women can actually pick up when they become pregnant, because it opens a doorway to another dimension to allow the soul to begin its path. It opens up, it goes off like a light and guides the soul to the womb. That's what we call the Asa principle. When Asa, in the ancient Kemetic sciences, Asa is one of the ways that Osiris or Osa is killed, is that he is drowned. Well, the drowning of Asa is the return of the spirit back into the womb inside of the fluid that the baby is. Yes, what do you call it? Fluid, the umbilical fluid. You know what I'm talking about. Well, anyway,
amniotic fluid.
Right, the amniotic fluid. What happens when you do an abortion is that when as soon as the body begins to get the information from the pituitary and the hypothalamus that the egg has been fertilized, it immediately shifts its attention to preparing the body to receive that life. So the first thing that happens when you have started getting pregnant is that your breast cells begin to create milk cells. And depending on at what stage of your pregnancy, from the beginning stages to the pregnancy, it doesn't matter, the first week, the first 2 weeks, first month, what is happening is certain cells are being prepared to make milk in your breast. Now, as soon as that particular signal is cut, when that baby is yanked out of your womb, those cells don't have any more information to continue growing into what they were meant to be, and that is to serve as milk conduits for the baby's nutrition. They stay there without any kind of information to follow through with, and that's what becomes cancerous.
Gotcha. Okay. That makes
All right? So now, once you now cleanse your body and go through a purification program, which is what we recommend to all of it, just incidentally, let me just mention this to you. I have 36 godchildren, and the majority of them were from sisters who came to me who couldn't have children because the doctors said they couldn't have children. But we proved them wrong. So what I do is I put the mother and the father through a vigorous regimen if they want to birth a genius child. And that rigorous regimen is in preparation for the time when they have that seed, when they have the seed, because the mother is not the only one that needs to be prepared to have or receive that life. The father who generates the life and passes on his his DNA to you, that he has to be in tip-top shape as well. Okay, because his sperm, if it's constantly being ejaculated, it's becoming weaker and weaker, and his seminal fluid is reflective of cells that regenerate weaker and weaker. The more he ejaculates, the weaker the sperm cells become.
Okay.
When they're being recreated. So there are different things that you have to learn. You have to go through certain consultations with me, and we stay for you for either 2 to 3 months, or if you want to stay with us for the whole 9 months, then that's a whole other charge and price. But that's not what we're talking about. The other thing is, as far as the abortion is concerned, you can cleanse your body and redo and reboot the system, so to speak. But that's another thing that you have to do, is to call us. And one of the ways, and that's for the sister who spoke before, who called in before, I suggest you, if you're listening, take down this website.
Okay. Can you give me the number as well? Because I have 386-45679, and I don't have the last 2 digits.
Yeah, 386-456-9279.
Okay, I'm ready for the website.
Okay, now that's the telephone number, but I'm talking about a product called Juice Plus, which is nothing more than juice, okay? I want you all to go up online, because this is one of the things that I give to the women who are pregnant, who are under my care right now. Juice Plus, because you cannot heal the body with herbs. And this is something that a lot of my friends who are herbalists, I too am an herbalist, but I prefer not to, based on the discipline of hygienic sciences, to promote or to use herbs unless it's in a triage condition or situation, an emergency situation. That's the only time. I do not use it as a nutritional base. You have to use food, what the body recognizes as nutrition, not stimulation. And that's what herbs do. They stimulate. They don't give you nutrition. Whatever minerals or minuscule nutrients that you have in herbs, they are there incidental to the plant, especially the type of plant, which is the wild plant, because that's what herbs are actually for. You use the poisons of the herbs. You see, herbs or herbology is the use of the poisons that these plants make in order to initiate a specific effect, and that is to suppress symptoms. That's all herbs are there for. You can't take nutrition from herbs because there are too many alkaloids in herbs to, that negate any benefit in the long run. Because if you ask anybody who's been taking a certain herb for after a long period of time, what you've been taking it for reverses, and you catch what you've been taking it for. So what you have to do is to understand the science, and this is what my good brother Jay is doing. He's studying the science we call poisonopathy. That's what they practice. That's what herbologists practice. You're using the poisons from the plants to instigate or stimulate the body into an effect, and that effect is to suppress symptoms. And all you can do with herbs is suppress symptoms for a while. What you need is pure food nutrition. You need pure food from the nutritional plants that have been cultivated by God, but also those that have been cultivated by man. So the nutrition that we recommend, because it's nothing but nutrition, it's not a vitamin. It is pure food in a capsule. It's called Juice Plus. Go up to Rethink, RETHINK, RETHINK.com. Check that. Rethink Juice Plus, JUICEPLUS. That's rethinkjuiceplus.com. Now, when you go up there, just look at some of the videos. I think you scroll down and you see there's a couple of videos there that tells you how it's made, and then there's one there, I forgot the name of it, but it's called The Whole Truth. If you can't find it there, look for the videos and look at The Whole Truth. It's only about 15 minutes, but look at what it has to say. The other thing is that Juice Plus is the most, and it's the only reason why I'm putting it, because everyone who knows me for the last 30 years knows I don't push products. I'm not into that. But when my queen told me, but when my queen told me about this, I told her, okay, where's the proof? Show me that it's a food. And she did everything. She came and gave me all the information and data, and I found out that this Juice Plus is and holds the distinction of being the most medically researched product ever. So they have tried to find ways to disavow, to find ways to say, no, this doesn't work. And each time Juice Plus, because it ain't nothing but 17 fruits, vegetables, and a combination of 17 fruits, vegetables, and 2 grains without all of the gluten in it. And
no vitamins.
It's not a vitamin. These are foods. It's dehydrated food.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay, or freeze-dried food, freeze-dried or dehydrated food. But go in there and check it out for yourself. And if you have any questions, call me at that number and give me your number so that I can contact you all directly. And if you're interested in getting the book, The Wounded Womb, go up to Lulu, LULU.com. That's Lulu.com. And then in this search box, put the word wounded, WOUNDED, and the next word womb, WOMB. And it should put you right onto the purchase page.
Okay, now I have one more question. With that number that you gave, where I can leave my telephone number for you, can I contact you? Can I contact this number to find out about the program that you were speaking on earlier?
Yes, you can call that number, but what I want you to do is to leave your number so that I could call you. I don't want to leave. I don't want to give this number out. I don't want to give this number out. Okay, so you just leave your number at that number, and then I'll get back to you all.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're quite welcome.
I have everything wrote down. Okay, thank you.
All right.
Okay, please.
All right, cool. Thank you. Very interesting. Okay. Well, we don't have any more callers lined up right now, but as soon as we do, I'll let you know. So for those of you who are listening, y'all can definitely call in. Feel free to call in at any time. At this moment, I would like to address the concept behind vitamin A and estrogen working together, and how they need each other to work together, and how vitally important it is in the female body, and how reading affects this. Now, a lot of sisters hear this, and they think that I'm going crazy, telling them that reading causes them, to get beards, and because I know women that, I'm professional, I'm this, I'm that, I'm, your whole typical 90s, 2000 new millennium woman. And these people are all, they're so proud of who they are, but when you look at them, they look like they can grow more facial hair than me.
Well, yeah. That's the cost, and a lot of women have paid it, and they've done. And let me just say this: women have contributed exceptionally to the society, but it's contributed what men could have done in that arena, because they're contributing what men do in that arena normally to take care of families. So if women step out of the role of being home to take care of families, or studying to learn how to start young children on the way to becoming family members to raise and keep the society going forward, well, essentially, those who run the society, if you go high up on the higher echelon, you'll notice that the Rockefellers and all the kings and the queens and this idiot, Edward, and all the rest of these, they all do what is supposed to be done. They get married and have children. But down here, they're telling the sisters, nah, you don't need a man. No, you don't need to do this, A, B, C, D, this, that, and the third. This is the kind of game that we have to now recognize has been the one that's being played on our sisters. And our poor sisters make believe that an education and a career supersedes what has been natural to them. All of what we're doing is artificial. The only natural thing that a woman really does is to raise a family and have a child. That is the natural thing that she does. If you want to be a natural woman, the only natural woman is a mother. A true natural woman is a mother. A mother is the presiding and provides. That's why, essentially, the entire universe, in a physical sense, in the physical light, is a feminine principle. That which is behind in the dark matter, that is the energy behind the feminine principle that we see, is the masculine principle. And we have taken that dynamic team, that dynamic balance out of the equation of society. So when a woman begins to do things that men created based upon being men, and a lot of those who write history from a feminist perspective state that men have taken over society and suppressed women so that they couldn't study or do any of these things. Well, let's look at this. In sports, women who were pursuing equality in sports found out that after they passed what is called the legislation called Title IX, where they equalized it so that women could now play as many sports as men in college or all through school, found out that the women weren't really interested in joining up with all these sports. So now what they had to do now is to adjust how the men or young boys were able to play. So in order for Title IX to be followed, if there's not enough women playing basketball or not enough women playing a certain sport in a school, the boys now could not play. So if you are now moving women into a place where men need to practice and to enhance and to work on their skills at being men in order to be good providers and protectors, when you move women into that position, you have now negated men in that society. Why do you think there are over 2.4 million men in jail today? You think that's an accident? There's no accident. When you, quote, unquote, empower a woman in this society, you disempower a man. But nobody saw the other side of that equation. All they know is that the women on CNN and all Oprah, they kept talking about we have to empower women. But what does that mean? What does it mean to empower a woman in a society where you are now moving women from their true power in the home, guiding and raising our children into sane human beings, into a world where men essentially had to battle with other men in order to do things to rise in society to make it better for them. Once you move women and say, no, we want women to do what men have been doing, what do you do with all the rest of the men who no longer have positions to move into that society? Well, you create a military, you create enough wars so that the surplus men who you would have doing that is now overseas dying for your cause, or you create a criminal environment where a young man no longer wants to go to school because he doesn't feel that the school is teaching him how to be a man. So what he does is drop out, and when he drops out, he creates the society that he was supposed to create when you let him go to college, let him graduate, let him get a job so he can go back into the society and lift it. Instead, he says, well, F that, I'm going to create my own society, and now we call them gangs. So we have hundreds of gangs all around underworld, all around the country, because feminism and Rockefeller, who created that condition of society, destroying the family, destroying the community, he now has the excuse to create more of a police force because those men, those young men who you're supposed to be training to be men so they could be good fathers for good women, you got them out in the streets now because you've taken away their ability to learn. You've taken away the opportunities necessary for them to ascend to get jobs, so they got to go criminal. So now you have 2.5 million people, men in jail, and those 2.5 million men now become a commodity, a commercial force where people are building jails. That was the biggest boom we had in this country, was building jail to house and warehouse men. So you have to understand that when I say you start educating women because they can now be equal, you have now negated a man from doing what he needs to do. And now you have better control of the entire society. Because when women start acting like men, and men, as you now know, are all now beginning to have the option to act like women in their new metrosexual roles, what do you have? Where are your warriors? Where is the change in the society? there is no change in the society. That's why Oprah Winfrey can have $5 billion and not a damn thing changes in the black community because she's not there to change. The only people that change a society are men. Men change society. They change it violently or intellectually. And both of them now have been shut down because violently they got us killing one another. And intellectually, they got us now intellectualizing our slavery instead of doing something about it the way the warriors would do it. So, yes, when a woman reads, because that's the way a man learns, the way a woman learns is by listening, by conversing, by interfacing communally. That's how she does it. That's how she learned, by way of the audio. She was the griot. How does a man read? He articulates, he analyzes, he structures his thoughts so that he could solve problems. A man is a problem solver. A woman is a problem stater. She states the problems. The man has to think about them and solve them for her so that she can get about the business of taking care of the children, educating them, raising them properly. Solve my problem. Make sure that this works correctly so that I can feed the children. Make sure that is the basic underlying premise of all life on this planet, and we have completely negated that today. So yes, if a woman now feels she needs to take on a man's role and go out and begin to start reading and getting into all kinds of masculine roles, then that will show later on. And if you go up into the higher echelons of education right now and look at the career educators that's out there, the PhD women who are out there working, most of them look like men. They're hard-featured. They're growing their hair, and that's because the more reading you do, the more vitamin A is necessary for you to process the words. Why? Because in my book I explain that when you read books, you are reading a two-dimensional set of symbols. Those two-dimensional symbols force the eye to work harder than if you were looking at a three-dimensional picture. So that's why our ancestors, the ancient Kemites, wrote in pictures because it was easier to assimilate information in pictographic forms. When you look at a beautiful scenery, when you're standing in the park and you see beautiful flowers and you see the depths, the way you see the colors, that's three-dimensionality. That's you looking into life. That's why they're trying to make three-dimensional TV for you. They're trying to bring reality into a virtual form so you don't have to go out there and deal with reality anymore. So when you're looking at two-dimensional words, your eyes have to work much harder to process the information. Therefore, you use more vitamin A. Vitamin A is vital for a woman in processing estrogen from progesterone. Vitamin A is necessary because the aromatase process, which converts progesterone into estrogen, is interrupted if the vitamin A is deficient. And therefore, you do not have the proper estrogen distribution around the body, and therefore she begins to start taking on all kinds of androgenic proclivities. This is a slow thing that happens. It happens over years of this type of work that women put in. But it always inevitably does shut down their estrogen process, their integrous estrogen-making process. I hope it answered your question.
Deep. Now, we have another caller from the 718-665. 718-665, you on the air. Who you be?
Oh, yeah, this is Jose right here. And
hey, Jose.
What's good, Brother Jay and Dr. Phil Valentine? Honored to hear from you.
Yes, sir.
Speaking on the fact of women wanting to become like men, is also children are affected from this too, being that since women and men are no longer in a household, they get affected by this in ways such as since there's no parents in the home, they do criminal activities, whatever the case may be. They lack in education. They basically lack the mother figure taking care of them. So what's your input on this?
Well, you hit it right on the head. we have to see that the problem with our society today is the insidious and very
hold on. Before you answer that, brother Jose, if you can you lower the speaker in the back because we have a reverb coming in.
Oh, that's a different thing.
Well, whatever it is, can you lower it for me, please?
It must be somebody else.
I really appreciate it.
It might be somebody else listening in.
Yeah, it's good now.
Okay. Well, what I'm saying is that the gender issue is the predominant issue in our society today, but no one sees it as such because it's so underplayed. We have now become normalized with abnormality. We have now become comfortable with perversion. We have become satiated and sedated by lies given to us by feminists, homosexual people who push the homosexual as well as feminist agenda. And what they have done is they have superficialized and undermined the heterosexual principle. And family, I ain't no damn fundamentalist. I don't give a damn about fundamentalists or what. I just know what's correct scientifically and psychospiritually. I know what it is that balance Ma'at, the balance of the Ma'atian principle, the feminine, the masculine, yin, yang, electric, magnetic, all of that comes down to gender. And it's activities. When you want to know what the highest activity that electricity can actually be, it's in the man. You want to know what the highest activity or expression of magnetism? It's a woman, okay? It's not your TV. It's not your Palm Pilot because electricity and magnetism are used in there. These are not the highest expressions of these primordial energies of the universe. The highest expressions of electricity and magnetism is man and woman. And once you start perverting that, then of course anything that issues from that will be perverted, like you're saying, the children. So gender and the destruction and undermining of gender and the proper roles for gender and the complete devaluing of the masculine principle and the overvaluing of the feminine principle today, that has completely disrupted the balance that is between the masculine and the feminine today. And it has caused women to have to do twice the amount of work that they thought that they wouldn't have to do when they went after their own independent freedom. So now this pursuit of independence and careers does not allow the maternal instincts of the woman to be nurtured from a very young age. If you were to give a true young baby girl and a true young baby boy specific toys to play with, their natural proclivities would guide them to do what they do with those toys because within them are the feminine and masculine energies in development. So you give a young boy of 2 or 3 a truck or a doll, he'll start playing with the truck or the tank. You give that the same thing to a girl, a true young, she will pick up the doll because it is hardwired, and they don't want that anymore because they want to make sure that they depopulate the planet. And the natural proclivity of the woman and the male is to come together as man and woman to procreate, and they want to eliminate. Again, let me say that. They do not want you to procreate. They're in the business to eliminate, and that's why they have to get rid of at least 2 billion people on this planet. And the way to do that is not to support the masculine and feminine heterosexual dynamic, because that inevitably creates children. So what they want to do also is any child that comes from the union of a man and a woman, it doesn't matter if they're married anymore because they don't want to deal with family. They have redefined what a family is. The family is what the state tells you a family is. They tell you marriage is what the state tells you it is. So the state has become your teacher, your big brother, your big sister, and now they will take care of your child. If it shows some aptitude, we'll put it through college. If it doesn't, we'll put it in a state institution and marginalize that through the criminal justice system so that the judges can get paid. This is the system that is in place right now, and women bought into this system unknowingly, and now they're suffering for it. And so are all of our children, so are all of our men, because men are suffering as a result of what women have had to suffer through too as well.
Interesting stuff.
Yeah, it is.
It's some deep
man.
stuff.
It's real deep. Like, people can't even fathom how deep it is, and think that it's something that we're just shooting off the hip, we just running off of emotion. But this runs really deep and is really serious, because the higher ups know what's really going on, and they keep it that way to make us feel dumbed down and think, oh please, people who are born gay, and Jose. Because I know Jose personally. We went to school together, and you know, we always come across these people who, well, females in particular, and some males who still come and once Jose brings up the topic of homosexuality and how it's not normal, or I should say natural, because it's normal now, but it's not natural to who we are, and they always find some way to some stupid excuse to make it seem as if it's natural. To, you know, people just born this way, like innate divine intelligence is confused somehow, and just, I don't understand. I don't get it.
Well, I'll tell you this, beloved. Yes, you can be born homosexual, and they have now learned how to do that. You need to get a tape of mine. You might have seen it. It's called Re-Engineering Gender. In it, I explain all that. How you can actually, in fact, you also need to go in and look at a work done by a man named Fitz, F-I-T-Z, or Fritz, F-R-I-T-Z, Springmeier. And that's spelled S-P-R-I-N-G-M-E-I-R. Fritz, F-R-I-T-Z, Springmeier. And he has all of the secrets of the Illuminati. He blew the Illuminati lid off of it. And he talked about something called monarch mind control. And he talked about the way that you can orchestrate the creation of a homosexual in the womb. You can actually create a condition of homosexuality in the womb. And it's called the disease, or it's called a congenital birth defect. This is what I call it. Because you can disrupt the hormonal integrity of a woman's womb and cause the creation of a child that has a confusion in their own, endocrine system. In other words, you could distort the endocrine development of a fetus so that it does not come out as the specific gender or sex that it has the apparatus for. In other words, you can create a feminine energy in the masculine model, just as you could create a masculine model in the feminine energy. And one of the ways you do that is that you shrink the hypothalamus in the male and increase the size of the hypothalamus in the female.
Deep, man. Deep. This is straight up genetic manipulation, man. This is.
Yeah, it's
wow.
that DNA changing right there.
Oh, yeah.
That's news to me. That's deep. Yeah. Is that included in your book, or one of the books that you have coming up?
Yeah, one of the books I have coming up called one of the books I'm working on is called The Epicene Enigma, which is what goes into the origins of homosexuality and what it is not only on the physical realm, but also on the psychospiritual realm as well. The problem is that we don't see it anymore as an imbalance. We see it as something natural because those who are promoting it are orchestrating our consciousness to believe it's something that is natural. It is an unnatural event taking place to normalize a specific problem that has taken place in the developmental stages of the human being. The human being essentially is a bipolar model. It used to be a hermaphrodite in the spiritual realm, but it is not a hermaphrodite in the metaphysical or the physical realm. And that's the distinction that a lot of these New Age people who are homosexuals are not making. the difference between a hermaphrodite and what a hermaphrodite is on the physical realm and what a hermaphroditic entity is on the etheric or spiritual realm. There's a big difference, and they're trying to blend the two to make you believe that somehow they are normal on this realm or in the realm of matter. It is not so. But when you're dealing with heterosexuality and homosexuality, go and get my tape. It's called Re-Engineering Gender.
Okay, definitely. I'm going to check that one out. Jose, do you have any more questions for Dr. Phil, or are you good?
Yeah, I'm good, man. It's some deep stuff. Learning so far.
All right, cool. So if you want, you can stay on the line listening. I got you. I'm going to just put you on mute. Okay, Dr. Phil, we have about 32 minutes left at this time, because I know there's a lot of sisters now going around and trying to get these rock-hard abs of steel, trying to, I don't know what it is. I have a lot of sisters on my Facebook who, cool sisters, cool, I love them to death, but there are certain things that they do, which I try to, hint them about and tell them that is not really conducive to their, biological makeup. And they think I'm coming with some, some chauvinistic crap. But in all essence, I'm truly trying to look out for their best interests, and they don't understand. Like, I put up one post about, I believe it was women who are trying to get these rock-hard abs, and because I know women who intensely train, and doing the weights and doing all these crazy exercises that I'm like, huh? You know what I'm saying? And it just, or muscle trying to tone and this and that. I mean, what does that really do to a female's body? And I know that you mentioned in your book how when these women get these quote-unquote abs of steel, how it inhibits the area, the abdominal area of the womb, and how deleterious it is to them actually functioning as a true woman, a true feminine woman, in touch with their true higher instincts. Now, I wanted to tell you, if you can, tell these sisters what's really going on when they do these crazy exercises and crazy crunches and sit-ups and all these outlandish exercises that are not even, meant for them to do.
Well, I'll tell you this. The masculine body and the feminine body have a distinction. There's a line that you don't cross in either direction. And I say this to women in the book, and you know that I said this because there's a point in the book where I've asked the questions of sisters. Those sisters who have the rock-hard abs and, who have done their best to tighten their buns to become buns of steel, whatever the hell that means, and have done it so that they have lost their hips and the latissimus dorsi, which is that muscle that's right under the arms that stretches down from under the arms and attaches right by the ribs. When you know how the brothers have those wings, and sisters are developing that, and they got their trapezius muscles is getting, and of course their breasts are shrinking.
Trying to get like Bruce Lee,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And it's interesting, I asked the question of the sisters if they still have any of their feminine proclivities or any attractions to men anymore. I asked those sisters who are rock-harding up and doing all of that, what if the man that they were with now begin to go in the reverse and soften his shoulders, does what he does, exercises, gets operations, and makes it so that his shoulders get smaller and his hips get bigger? I asked those women who got the rock-hard abs and got all this pumping and saying that how this is what the new woman looks like, if she still has any heterosexual proclivities left, would she want her man to have bigger hips, smaller waistline, and bigger breasts? Now, logically, she would say, I don't even think about that. Well, just see, she's not thinking about what that would look like in reverse. are you still a woman? If I start looking like a woman and you want to look more like a man, thinking that getting abs and strengthening and putting all kinds of pecs and all kind of shit on your body, if that's what you believe a woman is, then what do you believe a man is? What is a man supposed to look like? And if the man now decides that as a man, I think the best way a man should look like is if he had a 34 body. It's insane. So they don't see the insanity because they're caught up in it. And you have to remember, and I know women don't like to hear this, women are fickle. They will go to what it is that their feelings tell them. And if their feelings have been damaged from very young, where they do not feel secure about themselves or have not been given any kind of support about their looks, about who they are and what there is that is meant to be achieved and so forth, they will believe that the only options they have is to act on that particular compunction based on fear, based on judgment and so forth, and they will take it to that stage. So they will follow what their feelings tell them, and the society at large, those who are the social engineers and those who make the commercials that make you want to buy, they play on the insecurities of women. Women are the biggest insecurity commercial consumers in the world. And they will buy everything necessary to circumvent the insecurity that these bastards on TV spend billions of dollars to make sure that they feel that way. So when you have that type of input, the environment, the conditioning that goes into making women feel, well, your underarms look like hell if you have a little hair under it. If you are having your period, do you stink? How do you smell around your people? The odor. Oh, make sure you get just enough of this to get this because you can't do this. And, of course, your hair has to be bouncing and behaving. And if your lips don't look like this, how do you think that this man will think about you? And if you're not wearing this, you're not – listen, women are the most susceptible consumers of insecurity on the planet, but they will pretend that they're not. And they will fight you and say, well, that's not the truth. I just like to look good. No, that's not it. Those who spend millions of dollars and get paid millions of dollars know how to study. Most of those people are psychologists who come out of college and know how to manipulate your mind. It does not mean as well that men are not as susceptible. Now that we have become more feminized as men, we are becoming insecure about our looks. And we have to make sure that our eyebrows look just right and that we have just enough the right cologne. And women have to look at your shoes because your shoes tell you everything about the man. You'll become so superficial as a man that you will stand on the corner with a brand new pair of Timberlands, which is a work boot, and you will not want anyone to get a scuff on that work boot.
The lumberjacks.
Yes, this is how much of a, quote, bitch men have become. Now, it doesn't mean that I don't want to groom correctly and be clean as a man, have my shirt shine and so forth. But when your predominant preoccupation is to make sure that your sneakers stay white because it's white, or because that your work boot, your Timberlands work boot does not have a scuff on it, and you over there flashing with all your $200 bomber jackets to show that you are wearing a work boot but you don't work, this is the kind of sick mentality we're dealing with. So, yes, when you are dealing with the kind of overstimulation, targeting insecurities, this is exactly what it is that you're going to get. You're going to get in this consumer society who is basing the consumerism based on insecurities, based on your underarms, based on whether you smell right, based on whether your teeth are bright enough, based upon whether your hair is blonde enough. Of course this is going to happen. So now women who have nothing else to do because they're acting like men and they have to stay up, they have their mid-morning exercise, their this exercise. Well, guess what? The exercise industry is set up because now the slave marketing, the new kind of commercial slavery, is to get your ass sat behind a computer in a cubicle where you don't do shit. You don't do a damn thing back there, but you just type in figures and pass on papers. What you're supposed to be doing as your exercise is supposed to be the work that you put in to get your food grown, or the work you put in to walk to the place to hunt for your food, or the work you put in to building houses and doing the things that you're supposed to be doing as a man and as a woman. That's your exercise, being a woman. The exercise as a man is being a man. But because you are no longer those things, they now have to create industries for you to catch up. So now you do work, which is supposed to be what keeps you healthy, but you don't get healthy doing the new work you do. So you got to do other kinds of work, which is not part of the natural sequence of what work means. So you have to do something different, which is exercise. So you have all these bastards on television who are all pecked out. I mean, they're cut up. But these people live off of the insecurities because they've taken the time and probably had the money to build that body, make it look good, and then sell that body, which then causes you to be insecure, because when a man turns on and sees this man ripped like this and say, here's what I became, you can do it too, but only 4 to 5% of the people who spend all the money to get to look like that man ever get that. He gets richer, but most of the people get more frustrated. And it's the same thing with the women. But women more so because they're more insecure. The brothers themselves, I don't care about a belly. I have a belly myself right now, but I ain't never been sick. But women are more body conscious, so they are more body insecure. And today, because men now are more body conscious or been made to believe they're more body conscious, whereas they're telling you, I know you heard this before, women who go into the bar scene, the so-called singles clubs, they're judging men in accordance with what it is that they say they will take men. This is the type of man I want. Does he have this? Does he have that? Does he have that? This is the BS that we have now descended to. She has specific criteria for what he must look like. He's the dream man. And this sluts in the city thing that came on, what is this sluts in the city where this woman has to have her 1,000 pairs of shoes and has to have 6 and 10 different men, all of them whoring and scoring around there. This is the model that our women are being given, our young girls are being given to follow. So when you have that, and of course, Sluts in the City is written by homosexuals. So that should tell you now who is motivating and manipulating the mind of our society. Look at this. What is this queer guy? What is this? Queer guy for the, what is the name of this program that came out? Queer guy.
That queer guy for the straight guy or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Could you imagine?
Queer eye for the straight guy. Queer eye for the straight. Remember that?
A bunch of homosexuals bum rushing a man who was working as hard as he is, so he can turn him over into a fluffy thing for his woman to look at. This is ridiculous. This is how superficial we've become under feminism and homosexuality in this society. Everybody is now going into, and let me get this straight with everybody. You have to understand that homosexuality is pathological narcissism. I'm talking not just narcissism where somebody likes to look at themselves in the mirror. I'm talking about pathogenic, pathological, psychological, psychotic narcissism, because it's about how I look and how he looks to me. And the homosexual is actually in love with himself, because if you extend that type of love, and they talk about, well, love is just love. Yeah, well, okay, I can understand the broad view of what love is, because Europeans invented the terminology and the concept of love. So you know it's going to be perverted. So when you look at love between a homosexual, what you're looking at are two men who are in love with themselves first. Because if you can look at a naked man and say, I'm in love with you, what are you doing except looking in the mirror and being in love with the mirror? And that's the story of Narcissus. Narcissus was cursed because of his selfishness to fall in love with himself, or with the first reflection he sees, and he looked into the pool and saw himself and fell in love with himself. What is a homosexual except looking at himself, having sex with himself, and doing contortions to have oral sex with himself? Because what is he doing except exchanging sexual favors with someone who is his own design himself? So that's the height of psychotic narcissism. And that's exactly what they have us now focused into, constantly looking at ourselves and wondering whether or not we look good to ourselves so we can look good to somebody else. That's the madness that we're in right now. And we don't even see beyond the trees with this one because they got us now hooked into this nonsense. And that's what we have to wake up out of that illusion, that sleep that we're in.
No doubt. Real. I know we have about 17 minutes left. One thing I posted in the description of the show, which one of the questions was, is the period normal? Is menstruation normal? And I know we haven't covered that yet, but a lot of people believe that the lunar cycle controls the menstruation or the menses of a woman. Reading your book, I know now that is a very huge misconception. Elaborate on that, because people, can know, probably hear for the first time, that the period is not normal and no, the moon does not regulate the menstruation cycle.
Right. The weaker you get, the more susceptible to planetary influences, not only this planet, but planets around us, the more susceptible to the adverse energies that these planets control by their presence and their positions around our planet. So a body that is vibrating on higher levels and higher consciousness levels, as well as higher health levels and higher physiological levels, could not be susceptible to any deleterious effects by the planet because their energies are into the universe. They're in balance with the universe. So what you have to do is read my book to understand how the entire human race of species has degenerated. So the further we degenerate, the more degenerative expressions of the physical body reveal themselves. One of the most telling evidence of the human degeneration cycle is the menstrual cycle. And in the book, I showed that it cannot be natural or even normal because so many painful, adverse, discomforting, debilitating, and just downright awful feelings come with that particular event in time. So every time a woman goes through that, I've never met a woman that says, "Yay, it's coming soon. I can't wait for my period to come." I have
like
never met a woman who's ever said that. Yeah, I can't wait till it happens. Oh, this is wonderful. And they're making women believe that now because what they're doing is, again, creating pills, and that should tell, in my book, I explained that at the time when this thing called Seasonelle came by was actually an experimentation. It's now something that they're now offering, but of course, women are dying and dropping dead from all of the crap that they've been given, and this other Yaz and all the rest of this garbage they keep giving to sisters, so they keep taking this crap and keep getting their wombs afflicted. It's interesting that with all that has been happening, that we don't see that the menstrual cycle is a actual debilitation, a type of sickness that the women are afflicted to. The less a woman bleeds, the healthier she is. And we have been, back in the time when I was with Peter Fuhr, we used to have those sacred woman sessions where women would secede from having 5 and 6 and 7 day menstrual cycles back to just 1 and 2 days. And they were healthier, they were stronger, and they gave birth to stronger children, because you can't birth healthy children from a womb that spits out most of the nutrition that a baby would have every month. And it's a telling cycle. Every time, in my book I explain that every time that egg, during ovulation, tears through the wall of that fallopian tube, or of the egg sac, and travels down the fallopian tube, it creates a womb. It tears through the wall, and then the blood vessels and all of the materials necessary to create the conditions to heal it have to create it. That's why women feel the cramps and go through the mood swings and go through the hell that they do at certain times, right at the time before they're having their cycle, is because that egg is tearing through that egg sac, and they're feeling it in the form of cramps, headaches, the mood swings, and so forth. So it can't be natural. Anything, and let me just say this to the sisters who are listening. If something is natural and it functions naturally in your body, there should never be pain attached to it. In other words, a natural function does not naturally bring pain in the expression of that function. Therefore, anything that brings pain cannot be natural because the Creator does not create pain. It does not create imbalances. And the only reason for pain and the only reason for tiredness, for debilitation, and some sisters say, well, I feel absolutely wonderful. I don't really feel anything. It just comes and goes. But eventually, they begin to feel it. Some of them are strong, yeah. But then eventually, as it goes on and persists, you watch, then they start getting into the endometriosis. That's when the fibroid tumors start coming in. That's when the womb starts dropping. And, of course, if they're having sex and if they have a brother that's longer or larger and he's pounding away at the back end of the womb, because remember, during the time of sexual intercourse, a woman's womb, during the time when she is in the height of orgasm, like the testicles, when a man is actually getting ready to ejaculate, his testicles rise up into his body almost before he spits the sperm. It's the same thing when a woman is going through her ecstasy. The womb is forced back up and almost into a point where it disappears. But sometimes, and when the brother is banging against that part, that's what gives the feeling sometimes to certain women who have the sexual feelings, is when the head of the penis is banging up against the upper end of the os, the os, around that area of the cervix. And they feel it back there, but what they're doing is hammering away at the womb, and then it becomes flaccid. And then when it becomes, after they've had that type of sex for a long time, then the womb now becomes weak. And I mean, the womb becomes weak. And what happens is it begins to create sacs or loose parts of the womb, so that when the bleeding starts, the blood begins to pool inside of the womb, and that's when they get the clots. So a lot of the things that women are doing today and getting that momentary pleasure and feeling based on sex and the way they eat as well, the way they dress as well, and all these things are all part of the instigators that create the conditions for women's diseases. And a lot of women don't want to hear it today, especially from a man. And the only reason I get away with it is because I am a doctor of naturopathic medicine and I have studied these things. But brothers like yourselves, it's very difficult for you to talk to a sister because she's been told by feminism that she's smarter than you. And that how could you tell me anything about me because you don't have what I have? Well, I see that out there, sisters, that they have at least 1,000 books written by women telling men how they need to be. So who are you to tell me to not write about how you should be? So understand, sisters, this is not about me trying to tell you what to do with yourself. I could give less of a damn what you do with this information. But the information is there for you to start studying. And instead of you listening to Gloria Steinem and Oprah, you need to start listening to some of the brothers and sisters in the underground who's trying to raise you out of that nonsense. Because Oprah won't give a damn. Once she closes her eyes, that money's going back to white folks.
Man, how dare you speak about Oprah like that, Dr. Phil? Come on, you know better. You know these sisters love Oprah.
Oh, yeah, I know. Harpo.
And some of these brothers, too. Shoot.
Yeah. Well,
excuse me. But, yeah, man, that whole menstrual thing is, wow. I mean, I've known women who tell me I haven't had my menstrual cycle, and I'm actually nervous because it's not normal not to have it.
I know.
I said, well, it's actually not normal to have it. You know, they look at me like I'm crazy. Like, huh? What? What are you talking about? Anyway, but we already know.
Well, tell the people, please tell them the next time that when they ask certain questions, and our beloved sisters really want to know, because the one thing about sisters I admire is that they will go to find out. A lot of brothers, they're very much into their bodies, and sisters are very much curious about what's going on in their bodies. That's why they constitute the majority of people who go to clinics and doctors, women. So there are women out there. Women do want to know more about their bodies. It's just that who it is that's telling them. So if you have any, thing, women are basically like to hear words from authorities. And the bigger the authority, the more they want to read what they got to say. So if you have problems with trying to convince the sisters, please tell them to get the book and let them sit down and read the book for themselves. And in the back of the book, I have over 125 references for them to go. If they don't believe me, they have the scientific research and everything in the back of the book for them to go and check for themselves.
Yep, and he ain't lying. He really do, because the book is pretty thick. It's an extensive read, but is not one dull moment in that book. I didn't take my nose out of it at all. So it's actually sitting right in front of me here under other books. But definitely that's one that everyone needs to have in their library. Definitely. We have about 6 minutes left. I don't think I'm going to be taking any more callers now because we want to take the time to wrap up. Are there any things you want to address lastly or to close out with?
I would like to thank you, Brother Jay, for the opportunity to reach out to the brothers and sisters. And I know that this is going to be something that we most likely will archive and allow brothers and sisters to have access to. And I'm hoping that they do get a chance to listen to it, as well as to continue to support the work that you're doing. Also, I'd like to tell the brothers and sisters out there to go to Rethink. There's a few things I would ask them to do. Go first to Rethink, RETHINK, Rethink Juice Plus. Spell it out that way, rethinkjuiceplus.com. And if they're ready to order or they want more information about it, just call me at area code 386-456-9279 and leave a message, and I'll call them back. Make sure that they leave their number and speak slowly so that we can get the numbers. So a lot of people talk so fast we can hardly hear the numbers. Also, for those who wish to get a copy of The Wounded Womb, please go to Lulu, LULU.com, and then in the search box put Wounded Womb, WOUNDED, Womb, WOMB, and it will put you directly into the purchase page. And please tell more sisters and brothers to participate in that book, because in the very opening part of the book I say, this book is written for women but dedicated to men. And in it, I begin to tell brothers, because back in the days, back in the early 90s when feminism took off and began browbeating and dogging men, men did not know how to counteract all of that vitriol, all of that filth that was coming out about men to downgrade them. They did not have a counter argument to women. What I did and what made me such a pyre for women back in those days was that I began giving the brothers a way to argue down the nonsense that Oprah and all the rest of the feminists were putting out there. And this is what the Wounded Womb did. It leveled the playing field to show who was orchestrating the game of gender today, who took it over, who undermined the gender equation in our society, and why it was done, and what were the consequences of undermining gender in our society. So you need to get the Wounded Womb, if for nothing else, than to get the argument straight as women and as men. The other thing is to please go up to our university's website at UK as in King, S as in Science, NOW. That's UKSNOW.org. And if you wish to join our university, just click the word courses, COURSES, under the banner. Or if you would, and you see it in your heart to kindly give us a gift, just push the button that says give a gift, and you'll be put right into PayPal, and we'd appreciate whatever it is that you can help us with during our time of transition. Also, while you're up on Lulu, I would highly recommend my wife, Dr. Nalani's book called 7 Steps to Healing and Wellness. That's 7 Steps to Healing and Wellness. And it's not the number 7. It's not the word 7. It's the number 7. 7 Steps to Healing and Wellness. And you could put that up in the Lulu, or you could put Dr. Nalani, DR, then the next word, Nalani, and that'll put you right into the purchase page for her. The last thing is that we offer vaccination exemptions for anyone who does not want to take vaccinations or to give their children vaccinations. So call us at area code 386-456-9279 and leave a message. Be very clear about your name and the number or contact points you wish to give us, and we will be returning the call back to you. We do consultations, health consultations. We have 4 stages or 4 different forms of health consultations for all problems that you may have, and that is not only physical but psycho-spiritual as well. We give metaphysical consultations as well for people who just want to ask questions about universal truth and so forth. So with that, again, I want to thank you, Brother Jay. Keep up the excellent work as a student at the University of Communication Sciences. I invite everyone listening to this to join us at the university because we are going to be taking off. We are going to be getting much larger, and our school is going to be going global within the next year or so. So we invite you to come in on the ground floor to start right where we are as a mom-and-pop organization, because once we take off, it's going to get so huge that it's going to be just like me passing you in the hallway, because we're going to get that big one day.
Yeah. Well, all right, I want to thank you for coming on the show and dropping that beautiful science for all of us listening. Definitely for those of you who missed it, catch it on the archives, and definitely spread the show around. So going to close out. Well, you could catch us definitely next week, or you could go to my website, www.naturalhygienenow.com. Once again, thank you, Dr. Phil, and thanks to the family. Peace and Hotep.